we're up and running. All right, nice. Let's go back to home. 2:30 we'll start this. All right. Yep, perfect. 2 minutes. We'll get going. Cool. And just to make sure all this menu stuff goes away, full screen. Water here because I talk a lot in these. Oh boy. Yep. Okay. All right, 1 minute. We'll get started, and we'll edit this down after the fact because the stream is going to record this conversation too. Okay. All right, another couple of seconds. Should be in here. Oh, the terms of service popped up. That's good. That means people are in this chat already. Okay. All right, here we go. Hello, everybody who is watching this webinar. My name is Sam. I'm sitting here with my colleague and managing director, Darren. He'll be here to help me answer questions if I need any assistance. And thank you for coming into this webinar. This is going to be a general webinar. We're going to cover basic information of how to use the site, and most of what I plan on doing is opening the floor up to you guys for questions. Sure everyone can see my screen, and my mouse is right here. There should be a yellow halo over it on your side. We're just going to go through very quickly and cover everything. At the right side of your screen, you'll see an instant chat box. I have a message in it. I'll put in another message right now, just to show you I'm here. And if you have any questions, type it into that chat box, and after I'm done with my instruction, I'll pull them up on my side, and we'll answer everything that we can. So, all right, let's get started. So this is the homepage of Squarous.com. The fact that you've signed up for this webinar tells me that you're already familiar with our site. This homepage is pretty much the jumping off point for everything. So underneath it, if you're an investor, you'll like this section here for browse properties. You could flip between flips or rentals, different property types. These little dots down here also let you cycle through pages, or it'll do it itself for you. Underneath this, just quick little insights for fundraisers and investors, just quick little blurbs of info. Our tutorial section is under here. Very useful tutorials if you're looking to either invest or get project funding. These will go into a lot more detail than what we'll cover today, but they won't cover any of the live questions that we're going to answer today. So get your questions ready at the end, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. But these are very useful otherwise. Underneath this is our Squarous blog. Very useful information. I would say if you're an investor or a fundraiser, this is probably going to be your most important resource here. Everything we do on this site, whether it's an announcement or information or pretty much anything we post, winds up in this blog. You'll see our webinar announcement is right over here. This is what you all clicked to sign up when you went into that email. So you can either flip through it with these two arrows here, or under Learn More, it has its own page under Blog. But anyway, let's get started. I am going to log in as myself, and I'm going to simulate being an investor who wants to submit a project on Squarous. So when you log in, the first thing that you'll see is this nice landing page. These are recommendations if you are an investor. It tries to watch your habits, and it'll either recommend you new properties or properties that it'll think better fit your type of investing. The more you use the site, the better this gets. So, the browse and save and lots of other things, and that'll be better for you. But anyway, you can edit your account over here at the side. This is all for investors. But if you're a fundraiser, what you're looking for is down here in the fundraising section. Obviously, if you want to get funding, you click Get Funding, and then it's going to ask you for your project type. Now, if you're doing a flip project, if you intend to renovate or build and sell the property immediately after that's done. Rental project is a little more long term. This is if you have a house that you wish to rent, maybe there's already tenants in it, and you want to fix it up to like charge a higher price, or you want to rehabilitate a project so you can rent it out in general. That's the rental project section. So both of these are pretty much identical. There's a few things that are different that I'll cover, but for now I'm going to start with the flip project over here. So we're just going to go through it all. I'm not actually going to submit it because you need a lot of pictures and other things. This is just going to be very brief. So we'll just start out by filling out the general stuff. So this is section 1 of 4. Very simple, very easy. I'm just going to fill out my name. If you can do an autofill for me, that'd be great. Yeah, whatever, it's fine. If you are doing this on behalf of a company, type in that company name. The company I work for is called Squarous. I just call it Squarous. But for you, if you're doing this on behalf of a company, go for it. This is the project address right here. When you create an account, we'll have your business address already, but we need to know where the project is. I'm just going to type in the address to Squarous' offices. We are at 70 Oak Street, and that's in Norwood, New Jersey, and the country is the United States. That's fine. Now this part here, this is kind of important. It says to describe your project fully. Fill this out as much as you can. Talk about your goals, what the property needs. Talk about if you want to build extra for it. Maybe it needs landscaping work, or maybe it needs a finished basement, or you want to put in a finished basement. Type this in. The more detail, the better. Investors love detail, and the more you fill this out, it'll be to your betterment. So I'm just going to write something basic, just because this is a description. So I'll say I am going to flip a house and sell it after. Obviously, make yours longer, but this is just an example. So let's go to the next page. Oh, nope, we can't do that. Do you know why? Because we need to fill out other sections here. So there are required sections on every single page. This is critical information that we absolutely must get from you. Otherwise, we can't list your project on our site. So things like the total square footage of your house, the lot size, the floors, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, basic information like that we absolutely need. And investors absolutely need to make a good decision on the house. So I'm just going to type in anything. Let's say the total square footage is a very average 2,600 square feet. Let's say it's on a lot that's 4,000 square feet. Let's say it's 2 floors, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. If you want to put a decimal on it, go for it. If you got a half bath or a powder room, that's fine too. I'll just say 2. And then when you're done, then you can click next. Now this is the funding information page. This covers any equity questions and how much funding you need from us, and if you're getting any money from anywhere else. Let's just go section by section. So this first question here is, do you own the property? Self-explanatory. I'm going to say for this that yes, I do. My total purchasing cost, let's say I bought the property I'm renovating for $100,000. That would mean that I have $100,000 of equity in the property. If you have more or less equity based on if you've done anything to the house, put that in here. Very important this. If you have equity in the property, that's fantastic. That definitely decreases the risk that your project carries significantly, and investors love properties with less risk. So this next section here is how much funding do you need from Squarous? This is how much funding you need from us. Very important section. Let's say I want to redo some of the bedrooms, some of the bathrooms, so I can, flip the house for a little extra money. Let's say I need $40,000 to do this. How long is it going to take you? That's your project duration. Let's say I get it done in about 12 months is my renovation time. Now, offered interest rate, this is how much you want to offer people who invest in your project. So generally, I would say anywhere between 5 and 8% is fine. Obviously, don't make your offered interest rate too crazy. Otherwise, your project's going to look like a scam. And if you're offering a super high one, it probably is. But anywhere between 5 and 8 is fine. I'm just going to say 7.5, very average and on par with real estate. Now down here is other funding sources. This is useful for, let's say, your total funding goal is $40,000. but your budget, which we'll cover on the next page, actually calls for $80,000 worth of renovations. Where does that extra money come from? You know where it comes from, but we don't, and we need to know that so our investors can know that, and they know that they're getting into it with other partners, with other costs, and this covers that. So we have all the funding sources here: hard money lending, bank lending, partnership, self funding, or other. Um, let's just say Actually, let's say that I don't have any. This is very self-explanatory. If you have hard money, just write that amount in, the interest rate you're paying them, your loan type, and the term in months. How long is the life of the loan? Very simple stuff. So we'll go to the next page. This is the budget breakdown. This is going to be the same for either rentals or flips. This is very important because it breaks down the entire budget of your project. It's very helpful if investors know what exactly you want to spend your money on, and filling this in with the numbers where appropriate is very good to giving them that info. So let's say maybe I'll knock down a wall or two, $4,000. Let's say I got to put up some structural and framing stuff, $8,000. Let's say some flooring's got to get done. Let's say that's going to cost me $5,000 because I want to put down fancy wood floors. Electrical, I don't know. Let's say it needs 8 grand worth of electrical work. Now, as I type this in, you'll see at the bottom, grand total. This page is very advanced and it automatically calculates a lot of things for you. Grand total being one of them is how much you're going to spend on your project. Let's keep going. So we said that we wanted $40,000. So windows. Let's say we're going to do, I don't know, $5,000 worth of windows. You see it went up now to 30 grand. Let's say appliances. We need new kitchen appliances because they're all, white, outdated garbage, and we want stainless steel. So now we're up to $40,000. So if you were building a new property from scratch, this is what this section's for here. Say yes, and just type in the fees where you're going to be spending money on it. So new construction costs if you're hiring an architect, an engineer, any legal fees to subdivide a lot or a property. That's for that too. Where this is a house that already exists. So property taxes per month. I don't know. Let's put in, maybe it's $1,000 per month. Now, I don't know if you saw that. My grand total just jumped up by $1,200. Let's do that. So now $1,000 a month. So now let's say $12,000. It just jumped up by. Why did it do that? That's because on the previous page we said that the project duration was 12 months. It auto calculates for you because if you're doing your project for 12 months, then you're going to be responsible for the taxes on that entire term. So that gets multiplied by this here, and then it factors it into the grand total costs here. And the same goes for property insurance and utilities. Let's say my property insurance is, I don't know, $100 a month. Utilities, maybe I'm spending $300 a month. Now my grand total is a little higher, and that's fine. So now down here underneath it, we have projected sale price, realtor commission, and the estimated return before taxes and other things. So this is how much profit basically that the project is going to make, and that is calculated by these two things here. So let's say that after all my renovations, I'll be able to sell this property for $300,000. Now the EBITDA is positive, but the realtor's got to make some money. They usually charge anywhere between 3 and 6%, let's say 6, and that adjusted this number too. So now with that's all done, we can go to the next page here. And this is the final information. Upload any pictures you have. You could do 6 of them. Upload a deed if you have it. Definitely upload it if you have it. Unless you don't own the property, then this won't be here. But the more pictures, the better. Upload as many as you can, up to 6. Keep them under 2 megabytes in size. Otherwise, the system won't take them. The 2 megabytes is our size limit. And then here are the agreements. You agree to the following: terms of service, fee structure, and then manage the project until completion. The terms of service you can find down here, and the fee structure you can find over here. We'll get to that more in a second. And manage the project until completion. This is actually very important. If you are filling out the submission page and you want funding from us, you, not a subcontractor, not some other person, you must finish the project until completion. We don't allow for any subcontracting. We don't allow for any prospecting. If you're filling this out and you're getting funding and you want to reach out to investors, you're going to be the guy to finish the project, and you're going to be responsible for all the financing that goes with this. So anyway, once that's done, hit submit, or if you need to go back and save some things, you hit save for later, and then it'll get submitted to us, and we'll review it in 1 to 3 business days is about our standard, and then we'll get back to you. If there's something wrong with your project, we'll email you, and you can email us back and forth to make these changes manually. So that's pretty much it for the flip properties. Let me just get back into the My Account landing page, and we can go to show you what it looks like for rentals. We'll just be really quick about this. I'm just going to fill in super basic information just to get us onto that other page. You'll see that this rental page looks very similar to the other pages for the flip properties. I'm just going to put in super basic numbers. So everything here is the same except for the budget page. This is the main difference between the flip properties and rental properties on our site. So will you be doing any any renovations? That's all the stuff from the previous page that we just saw, and also new construction is right here. The main difference is underneath all of that, this is all pertaining to rental stuff. So what's your maintenance cost per month? What's the vacancy rate per month expressed as a percentage? Do you pay for any property management per month? Do you have an HOA? Do you have a mortgage, utilities? And this is pretty much the standard from the other page. Down here, the gross income per month and the gross expenses per month goes into net income. This is auto-calculated for you. And this will tell investors how much they stand to make per month, per share, if they choose to invest in your project. On the next page, page 4, yeah, let's just type this in just to get the ball rolling here. And I'm missing something. Next. Oh, that's okay. All right, so anyway, the final page on this basically looks like the upload section on the previous page on the fundraiser side. So that is pretty much it. Let me just back up here. Back, back, back. So anyway, that's pretty much how this works for if you're trying to get project funding. And now we're back on the My Account landing page, and I'm trying to bounce around. I think we're having an internet connection problem. It should fix itself. Okay. All right. Okay. And now we're back on the My Account landing page here, and fix itself. All right, cool. So let me just get back to the mic. Sorry for that, guys. We just had a minor connection issue over here. All right, so now we're back on the My Account landing page. And if you want to, let me log out and log into a different account so I can show you this. So if you completed a submission page and you saved it as a draft, you can edit that draft from the My Account landing page. So this is another account that we have that we post projects to. And if you submitted a project that you want to edit as a draft to go back in later and fix things, under fundraising, under get funding, there's a button that's called Submission History. If you click it, you can it's the same prompt for flip or for rentals. Let's click rentals. And it'll basically look like this. So these are two properties that this company has uploaded to us. It's actually one of our sister companies, so that's how I'm able to show you this. And it'll basically look like this. So this will be all the properties that you submit. It'll be in a list that draws downward. So this is the date that you submitted it, obviously. This is the address. This is the city. This is the state. And you have two buttons here, Edit Project or Cancel Project. If you edit the project, if you click it, it'll take you right back to the submission page where you just were, and everything that you filled out will automatically be refilled for you, and you could edit things and resubmit the project to us. However, this will mean that you will have to it'll have to be reapproved. So if we automatically approve your project and then you make some changes to it, we'll have to take it down and reapprove it again. But if you have to make changes, that's totally fine. We have a mechanism for that. And let me just go back real quick to talk about this other button, cancel project. So what if this is the flip properties for the same company. So let's say that you entered a project that you want to cancel. There's a cancel button right here. If you click it, we're going to make you confirm your project address just to make sure that you're not going to cancel the wrong project. And just a brief reason, because it's not just us that you're telling us that you want to cancel, it's investors too. They want to know why, if anyone's on board with your project. Just a brief explanation. You can request cancellation. If your project isn't too far along, we'll cancel it for you and move you out. So let me log out and log back in as myself again. And that's pretty much it for the fundraiser side of things. I'm just going to briefly show you some investor tools, and then we'll open up for questioning. So if you're an investor, you can find investments by hovering over investments, flip and rental projects, or you can literally click where it says investments. You'll go to this landing page here, and you'll see recent investments for flips and rentals. Click browse flips, browse rentals. It's the same as these two buttons here, and it'll take you to these lists. You can sort by newest project, or if you want to look for high interest rates or low interest rates, you can do that too. If you find a project that you like, clicking the link or the picture or read more will take you into it, and then you'll be able to do stuff to it. So there's two buttons. There's two buttons, three buttons actually, that are pretty important on this page up in this section here. Add to cart if you're ready to check out. This little heart button, and add to compare list. So this little heart button is add to wish list or favorites. If you like a project and you want to come back and you want to read more, click it, and it'll show up under my account in favorites. The compare list button is the same. If you click this button here on this project and go into another one and click the same button, they'll be arranged on a list next to each other, so you can quickly see it. Over here, down here, under the description is the view the budget button. Very important, great information. If you click, it'll open up a PDF window, and you can see detailed information that this page won't actually show you outright. This is the entire project spreadsheet, and you'll notice fundraisers. All of this lines up with what you filled out on the submission page, which is why it's important to fill out everything as much as you can, because once you submit your project to us, it'll draw this spreadsheet, and investors who come to look at it can see literally everything that your project's about. It's very transparent, it's very straightforward, and they can see what you're spending money on, what they stand to make, all the other goodies, super detailed stuff. And that's why it's good to fill that out. Up here, next to the picture, this is quick info. This tells you pretty much a brief overview of what you'll see in the budget, like the interest term. So this is going to pay out the simple interest and principal when the project is done. How many shares were initially offered? How many are left? What's the interest rate? What's the term in months? The funding goal down here. And if you're ready to buy a project, let's say I want to buy 10 shares of Ridge Avenue. Let's click Add to Cart, and if once you're done clicking through all this, you can either view the cart from this button up here or down here, or if you're content to check out, you could just check out. I'm going to close out of here and go to the cart so we can see what that looks like. You'll see all of your shares are lined up in here, the interest rate here, the subtotal, the total here, and when you're done, click checkout. It'll take you to this page. I already have an account, so I'm already logged in. If you don't, you'll have to create an account or check out as a guest up here. It'll type in your address and stuff. When you're done with this section, click continue if it's on the right address. This section here is very important. Squarous does not actually transact any real money. Not even a little bit. For extra protection and verification, we have attorneys that work for us that you actually send a check to. You'll get an email immediately after checkout that shows you where to mail your check to, who to mail it to. If you already know who you're going to go to and you have your check in the mail, you can add a tracking number here for us to see. If not, just skip it. This is optional. But we don't actually take your money here. You mail it to an attorney. They'll put it into an escrow account for the project, and they'll release the funds once the project is fully funded to the fundraiser. To get the project going. Anyway, once you see this section here, click continue. And this is just one last like final thing. Are you ready to go? Are you sure that you want to do this? And if you are, click confirm, and it'll say your order has been processed. So now an email is going to come to my email, which I'm obviously going to ignore and cancel this order because this is just a demonstration. And it'll tell me where to mail the check to. Mail the check out as soon as possible. If we don't hear from you in like a week or two, we'll cancel your order for you. Just ship it out as soon as possible. And that's pretty much it. You can look at all of your orders here on the My Account page in your order history, so you can keep track of what you invested in. This is what we just added now. If you want to see that full sheet again, the full invoice, click it. It'll take you back to here, and you'll be able to look at all of your previous purchases. And that is pretty much it. Now, I'm sure you guys have been typing in questions. We've been recording them. Let me just connect here to my chat account, and we will get the ball rolling on this, on answering your questions. Okay, here we go. All right, let's get one up. Cue the first question. Oh, here we go. We have a question. All right. What variables are considered when forecasting the expected return of a project? Well, that's a very handsome question. Thank you for answering it. There's a lot of variables that you, as an investor, will have to consider when forecasting the expected return of the project. So, things that the fundraiser will put in to answer this question will be, let's say, um, you'll see on this map here, there's a lot of different value forecasts for properties. Yep. So we'll look at previous sales of an area. We'll look at how much um, work is going to go into the property, how much equity is going to be added into the property, home sales from that area that sort of match those lines, and we'll also look at the interest rate and the term. Those also forecast how much you're going to make. The interest rate will tell you exactly in a percentage amount how much you'll make per your share. But for the actual property itself, we'll look at surrounding home sales, history of the house itself, and a few other factors to determine how much it'll sell for after it's completed. I hope that answers your question. We're going to queue up the second one here. All right, we have another question. Will you be able to tell if a project is inside of an area that is underneath a bubble? What benchmarks are used to determine this? All right, so by bubble, I'm assuming you meaning housing bubble that might pop and crash the real estate economy in that area. So that would be, we would look at the same thing, sales histories, home values. If an area is experiencing a huge spike in home values, for no real discernible reason, that would indicate a bubble. We would look at that too. Hang on, I'm just taking a drink of my water. Sorry, guys. We would look at that too. There's also there's a lot of real estate forecasting services that we also check to make sure that a property is in an area that's not in a housing bubble. If one looks that way, or if a fundraiser looks like he's a prospector and not, like a serious fundraiser, that obviously they won't be approved. But you're totally safe on that. And yep, this is my colleague. He's talking. You just speak freely if you want to add one.
Okay, I just want to add one. So, what's wrong with the bubble? So, it's a flip. So you want to have a forecast that it is going, the price is going up. Well, it depends of how long does that house gonna get sold. That's also very important questions. So we want a very experienced fundraiser or projector that does the project, knows how, knows well the market, and they can say, okay, my investment will go with the investors, and that's a kind of like a vote of confidence.
Great.
So there's, yes, there's something we all, kind of like a little bit afraid of, bubble, but in the areas that are without a bubble, uh, I mean, doing a flip is pure of labor, and now your profit is gonna be squeezed.
All right, great. Hopefully that answers your question. I pulled up another one now. We have a new one. What are the best ways to mitigate risk on your platform? And is there a way to indicate risk? So that's a two-parter. I'll start with the first one. I think the best way to mitigate your risk on this platform is to diversify. So if you've noticed, we sell shares of real estate projects. So let's say you have $50,000 to spend. Well, each share is only $1,000. Spread it out. I wouldn't dump 50 grand into one project if I had the opportunity to spread it. If you spread out your wealth among different projects, it'll cover your risk a lot, and it'll also give you the opportunity for higher profits if the different projects have different interest rates. Is there a way to indicate risk? Yes, the interest rate, obviously. If it has a higher interest rate, it has a higher risk. Lower interest rate is lower risk. The term is also a good one. High interest rate, low term projects, very risky. Low interest rate, longer term projects, a little less risky. Um, Each project also has reviews. If you care to write one, they'll all show up on the page once they appear. And each fundraiser also has a review himself that is visible here in the star system. So if a fundraiser has completed a lot of projects successfully and people enjoy it, they'll have a positive review. Less successful fundraisers will have less reviews. But basically, you can find out everything yourself within the budget, within the information that we provide for you, and that'll be a good indicator of risk. So let's go to the next question. Okay, what are the total costs for a person looking to get funding on Squaros? Please be specific. I'm actually very happy you answered this question. We have, yep, we have, we have a page on our Learn More page right here um, that covers everything right here. So if you click the Learn More page under, do you want me to leave this here so you can see? Okay. If you click under Learn More, there's a page called Fee Structure, and you'll see right here, Squaros is free to use. That is so true. Squaros itself, we do not charge any service fees at all. If you're a fundraiser, if you're an investor, you pay nothing. Investors actually pay nothing forever. Totally free. We don't charge any service fees. What is charged, however, is legal services and taxes. That's not avoidable. Every real estate transaction needs needs legal services attached to it. There's taxes, there's fees, and that's all covered here. So if you're a fundraiser, you are going to be the one who is responsible for paying these fees. But don't worry, we charge nothing up front. Once your funding goal is met, you'll pay for your the fees and services out of your total funding goal. So if you raise, let's say, $100,000, then that will go towards paying these services. So you have nothing to lose once you sign up to list your project on Squaros. If your project doesn't get its full amount of funding, it's fine. You pay nothing. We'll just close it out for you. But it's an absolutely zero risk situation for you. But anyway, let's just go through these real fast. So the average recording fee, when you submit a project to us and you have investors, the attorney will assign a lien to the property to hold it in place so it can't be sold out from under the feet of the investors. That costs around 250 to 300. There's also general attorney's fees. Once all of the investors are together, the attorney will group them into an LLC, and that's who will have a lien on the property. That's $2,000. This is also a fee for the managing of the escrow accounts, the title search, and any mortgage contracts. And then of course the government needs its fair share, so there's a mortgage tax. That's 1% of the loan, which is also 1% of your total funding goal. That's pretty much it. And there's other than that, there's nothing. There's no hidden fees, listing costs, out-of-pocket expenses. This all happens after your project is fully funded, and only if your project is fully funded. So I hope that answers your question. I'm just going to queue up the next question if there is one. Oh, there is. Okay. How do we know for sure that a project actually exists and a fundraiser isn't ripping everyone off? Well, I'm so happy you asked that, because the fact that the project is here at all is an indicator that it exists. It's real. The fundraiser's real, and everything in it is real. We go through a super extensive vetting process when properties are submitted to us. Fundraisers don't just get to go through the submission page and it winds up on our flip page here. That's not how this works.
Attorney.
Yes. Also, our attorneys validate everything. Like I said before on the fee page, you don't send money to us. You don't pay us. You send money to an attorney. That attorney forms you into an LLC with the rest of the project. There's a lien that's placed on the actual property itself. The fundraiser has to send progress reports to the attorney and to us. Everything is verified. Everything is secure, and it would be impossible for somebody with all of our checks and balances in place to operate a scam off of our website. Let me. Oh, yep, sure. My colleague's going to add something else. Stop right there.
Just think about yourself buying a home. So you hire an attorney. There is no way you're buying a home that is not existed. Now you're buying a share through attorney. So the process is almost the same. And attorney is guarantee you that he will do his due diligence and get you the money or the investments back.
Great, good answer. I'm gonna jump for this one too. So we have a new question. Do you offer loan rate locks? Is there a fee for a loan rate lock?
Well, basically, this is locked. I mean, this is actually locked.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So, yes, and everything is already locked by default. Oh, I'm assuming if I'm reading your question properly, I guess you're wondering if the interest rates can
No, we
change.
don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't. Is a fee for. No, it's actually this is locked.
got it. Okay,
So they provide an interest rate which is locked for the duration of the project, and we don't charge the fees.
got it. All right, cool. So,
I'm not sure if we answered his question, but
I think we did. I think
yeah,
that makes
but
sense.
basically this is interest rates.
Great. All right. So all of the interest rates are locked at the beginning of the project. They do not change, and we do not charge a fee from them ever. All right, cool. Let's queue up if there is a question 7. Let's see, Q7. Yep. Okay. Yay. All right. Is there a prepayment penalty? Is there also a penalty if a project gets delayed?
I think well, there's no penalty. So basically, if the project's getting delayed, then you still gonna earn the interest on the investments until it's delinquent. Now, what is you said the other question is prepayment, right?
Yep. Prepayment penalty.
So we don't do that, and it's just like you do mortgage. Most of the time, if you pay mortgage early, you don't get the penalties.
Oh, great.
So if you can get the project done in a shorter time, right? Actually, the fundraiser is getting better ratings from
Right.
their investors. Oh, he get the job done quicker. I get my money back quicker.
Right, right. All right, cool. Great. I hope that answers your question. It's just for a quick summary, it's better to finish your project earlier if you can, and there is no delayed penalty that would be between you and your investors. Let's queue up the next one. So, do you have the ability then to approve loans in house? No, we do not approve any loans in house because we do not handle any money. What Squaros does is we connect investors and fundraisers. So, if you are an investor that's looking to invest your money in a real estate project, and if there's another person who is a fundraiser who's looking for money for a real estate project, we connect you together and provide you the tools through our attorneys to create an ecosystem where you can confidently loan that fundraiser your money so we can complete this project and you can make a return. We do not actually handle any money ourselves. We do no loans in house. It is impossible to transact any money on Squarehouse at all at any time for any reason. Hope that answers your question. Let's pull up the next one. All right. How much time does it take to fund a project? Well, that really depends on the project, I guess. Um, basically, if your project is, let's say, you're asking for $20,000, and a different project is asking for, let's say, like 2 million. Obviously, it's going to be a little longer for the $2 million project to secure funding than the $20,000 $2,000 project. Basically, if you're asking for less money, it's probably likely that you're going to fill up faster. If you're asking for more money, it may take more time. But I also want to specify here that there is no time limit on Squareos. You can leave your project up here for forever. Even if, let's say, you're asking for $2 million, you get $1 million from Squareos and $1 million from, let's say, hard money or a bank loan. Tell us, and we'll modify your project and we'll close you out. There's no limit for how long that your project can be up here. Because there's no risk to you at all. And as long as you're still willing to keep it up here, we will keep promoting it to our investors for however long it is up here. Okay, let's pull up the next question. There is one. Okay, so what variables are considered when forecast? Oh, nope, sorry, we already answered that already. I apologize. I called for the wrong question. Okay, okay, none there. Pardon me. Oh, here we go. All right, we're on the next question now. Okay. How would asset bubbles impact the market of projects listed on Squaros?
All right. So
All right, so my
well,
colleague's
yeah.
gonna answer that.
So this is a second question about asset bubble. First, we have to say, is there a bubble? Is there a prime, subprime lending already happened? Is there recession imminent? So those are the big questions that we have to answer ourselves and see if real estate investment is a good investment for us at this moment. And personally, well, that's only personally. I think those questions can be answered fairly quick, um, and easy. There is almost none of subprime lending. Um, we even have a sense that nowadays is even harder to get lending, get loans from the bank. So, um, and also the inventory is pretty low. We can check up the data from government that tells us that new housing, even second-hand housing, is very low in its inventory. So all those data, all those information tells us that, well, even the biggest thing is the employment. Unemployment rates is historically low. So I guess the bubble is very, very limited to some areas, but overall, we don't experience this bubble at all. Now, that's basically my own experiences. I would like to hear about comments and also suggestions, from all the participants.
Yeah, great. Yep, and we do have the comment section in this chat box here. And if you do want to send us any comments or suggestions, we have our contact us page right down here. Very easy form to fill out, and we will happily read. And if there's any other interesting questions or experiences, we'll publish them in our blog in the next couple of days. So definitely take that suggestion up. Now let's pull up the next question there. Okay, how does Squaros predict the cyclical nature of the real estate economy, and is that factored into approval decisions for a project? Oh, you guys are not holding back with your questions. Okay,
You try a little bit.
okay, all right. Okay, so the real estate is cyclical. That is very true. It goes up and down. I guess a lot of that will come from the fundraiser and the forecasts that they provide with their project. So, pretty much, if a fundraiser wants to start a project in a market that's going up, uh, we'll check those forecasts to make sure that that project is indeed going to increase in value as the fundraiser expects that it will. If you look on the view the budget section down here on the EBITDA, this is just a measure of how much the property is going to make in profit after it's all done and finished. Um, this is pretty much set for the entire project. So for example, a fundraiser wouldn't start a project that he knew at the end of the day that he would lose money on, and we wouldn't allow a fundraiser to list a project on this site if at the end of the day, when it's done, we knew that the fundraiser and the investors would be losing money on it. If an area looks like it's in a housing bubble, if an area looks like that the values are about to drop and these numbers don't line up with that, we'll obviously make some modifications with the fundraiser to correct these numbers if possible, or if not, then maybe the project wasn't meant to be. And this is also, goes by us verifying everything and making sure that everything lines up good and is safe.
I just want to
Yeah.
add one point. Yes, housing is investment, but at the same time, housing is a necessity. So it means people need housing for rental, for raise a family. So there would be always a need for newer housing, better housing. So if we see this fundraiser is speculating the market, and we generally don't like that. But if we see that the fundraiser is merely provide a services to the market, then this is going to be a good investment. And doesn't matter where you at as at the cycle of the housing. It always going to be people need housing. And it doesn't matter if it's in the late stage. It doesn't matter if it's in the early stage. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle of the stage. People always need housing. That's our kind of like glue of engagement.
Right. Yep. That makes sense. If I could build on that a little more myself, you know, real estate. Even if you look at the ups and downs, and especially the crisis in 2008, the real estate market has recovered, and it's gone up past that. Um, the real estate market always trends upwards over time because, like my colleague said, the population always increases. Like 10 years ago, there were 6 billion people on this planet. Now there's 7. All those people need housing. Or if you look at this country or this area, the population of the New York, New Jersey, New England area, I'm sure your area too, wherever you might be from, has probably increased significantly over the past decade. Like my colleague said, all those people need housing. As more people exist, land and resources become more valuable, which is why real estate is such a fantastic investment that will always go up as time goes on. So I hope that answers your question. Let's pull up the next one here. And there is one. How is equity recovered from a project that fails that had to be purchased first with money from investors? Okay, so if I'm understanding your question correctly, you're asking if a project is not owned by its investor, you give him money, he purchases it, then the project fails. How is equity recovered? Well, real estate is why it's such a fantastic investment. Is there's always equity in it. It's always a tangible asset that will always exist at the end of the day. So how Squarous works is once a project is started, the attorney will put a lien on that property. And if the project fails, the attorney will then foreclose on that property. The seller will be unable to liquidate it because of that lien. And then any equity left in the project will then be sold and divided among the investors. So let's say a fundraiser buys a property for $100,000 and then it doesn't work out and it fails. Well, that property still exists. That property is still worth $100,000. We'll sell it and we'll try and refund you as much of that money as you want. Or if you and the other investors want to hold that property until it increases in value in the future, if you want to hold that lot, that's fine too. So there's always equity in properties. That's why real estate is so fantastic. There's always money there, and generally, just to touch base again, if a project fails because we have a lien on it, the attorney will then foreclose and then divide up those assets among investors. Uh,
And we also
yep.
encourage everyone to invest in properties that has more of the owner equities that this
Yes.
fundraiser has.
Yes, absolutely. And let me show you an example of a property right now that has equity in it. This is actually good. This is actually a good example. So let's look at 20 Maple Street. This 20 Maple Street is a fantastic property. It has a high interest rate. The shares, 50 of them, $1,000 per share. They're only looking for $50,000 total. And anyway, if you look here in the view the budget section, in section 2, the owner has equity in this property. They bought it for $20,000 and they have $20,000 worth of equity, which means that they own it. A bank doesn't. There's no loans against it. And if anything happens, pardon me, and if anything happens to this project or to this property, then that money can be used to recover any investment. So the more equity, the better. Um, houses that have equity also carry less risk than properties that do not.
And we also want to add one more point.
Yep, sure.
The attorney is not releasing money all at once. They release the money according to the project process. So uh, basically, investors' money is secured in that sense. It's not gonna be spent on his or her personal expenses. It's gonna be spent on the house.
Great. That was a fantastic summary and a good point. Okay, so next question. Do you make your various real estate projects adhere to the balanced scorecard strategy? You know what that is? I'm pretty sure that I know what this is because when I
Go
was.
ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. If by the balanced scorecard strategy, if you're talking about project management strategy and uh, the informal way that a project manager, through spreadsheets and diagrams and plans, can set up a project to manage it. No. We let fundraisers, project owners, and property owners manage projects however they want. They do have to send a very informal progress update to us and the attorney, which when we will then forward to investors as their project goes on. That's how they release more money. But as far as forcing them to adhere to a specific managerial strategy for their project, we don't do that at all. No, no, no. I hope that answers your question. Very, very, very specific question. You sound like you are in business school. Okay, next. Oh, there is one. Okay. Would investors be protected if another 2008 crisis happened again? Okay. Um, yes, but I don't think that another 2008 crisis would happen again. We actually have in our blog here, if I'm going to go to our homepage and show you, we actually wrote an article about this. A lot of fantastic information. Um, that is definitely, so here we go. So 2008, what really happened? Let me pardon that pop up. So this tells you here basically how to understand the crash and basically how you're protected and how this platform is protected is you want to be an investor, not a speculator, right here. So how the people that were hurt the most in the crash are people that were like, oh my God, property values are going up, I must buy one, and without understanding the real estate market, they bought a property, they bought a house, the market crashed, then they were screwed. That's not how we operate on Squarous. On Squarous, we are investors, we are not speculators. We make educated and informed decisions before we go into something, so we know that we're not speculating. So we know that the market can cover the money that we're putting into it. So we know that the properties are real and that they're safe and that the forecasted returns will actually be realized when the project is ended. That's actually being an investor and not a speculator is like kind of like the entire core point of this entire platform. We give you so much information just on the main page here and in the specs down here and in the budget here, where you can see literally every single thing about the project and its forecasts and how much money that it plans to make at the end of it. We give you all that information so you know for a fact going in you're not a speculator. You are an investor, and if a crisis like 2008 happened again, which probably it won't, but if it did, you wouldn't be completely destroyed, or hurt at all. Actually, investors in that financial crisis, they made money, especially if educated investors, bought properties when the market was at a low, and then once the market rebounded, like it does, years later, they made a killing. So totally safe to invest on Squaros. Just make sure you pick the property that you like and do your due diligence on it. Again, 20 Maple's a fantastic project to go in on if you are curious. All right, let's get another question up if there is one. And there is. How much time does the attorney need to finish setting up the financial stuff for a project? Again, I guess that would depend on the project. Simple project with small investors, with a small investor pool, can get processed a lot faster than large ones with large investors. So, as we see on our fee page, our attorney he records a lien on the property. They also provide the custodian services for the escrow accounts. They do
Well,
the title search.
just for the attorney's legal work, it can be it can be as soon as days. It's the matter is the fundraising process. How much money you want to raise, how quickly you want to raise, and is your project attractive enough to you know attract enough investors in a short period of time. Those things are matters most for the time. Uh, but just like I said, attorney can get the job done in matters a couple of days.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's see if there's another question. There is. Yeah, great. Okay. Will Squaros be the title and escrow agency for a project, or will it be the attorney? So I think we already answered that previously. It's the attorney. Squaros does not provide any escrow for a project. We don't hold titles. We don't take money. We don't do anything. We connect interested parties together and give them the tools they need to come to an agreement to support funding and investing on a property. We don't hold anything. So next question. There is one. Okay. Do you check to make sure projects aren't located in things like a flood zone or other hazardous area?
We
Uh,
don't.
no.
Well, that's we just be plain honest. We don't. So if the fundraiser is that bad, choosing a project, he should not be existing.
Yeah, right. That that was a good answer. Yeah, it's up to the fundraisers to make sure that they're not building projects in areas where their work can get destroyed.
Yeah,
Right.
so
Right. All right. Is there another? There is another question. Do projects need to purchase insurance before they can get approved on Squareos, specifically home, flood, or commercial insurance?
Uh, so basically, investor funded the project. The attorney released the fund. While they're released the fund, we actually require the fundraiser to purchase insurances, and that is part of the budget.
Right. Yeah. Right. Indeed. Oh, it is on the budget.
Yeah,
That
it is
is
on the budget.
absolutely right. Yeah. Let me show you guys where that is, and that is also a required section on the budget. So yes, they do have to purchase it. So that would be right. Yep. Property insurance monthly. You need to have insurance, and it gets calculated. And so yes, fundraisers will have insurance. That was actually a very good question. You guys are keeping us on our toes. Let's see if there's another one. Yes, there is. Can a project make changes if it does not get approved for listing on Squareos? What are your main approval criteria? So, yes, if you submit a project to us and something's wrong with it and it doesn't get approved, you absolutely can make changes to it. That'll work with, you wouldn't use the submission pages. It would work in an email conversation back and forth. So, once you submit the project to us, during that approval process, like if numbers don't make any sense or if there's like a mistake or maybe you forgot something like a picture, or maybe we need the deed from you because you said that you own the property. We'll shoot you an email. Hey, it's Sam or Darren or Charlene from Squareos.com. I was reviewing your project. I found some issues with it. Can you please provide us this and this and this and this and this? Once you give those things to us, we'll continue to review your project and we will approve it. As far as our main approval criteria, that's pretty much everything that's required on the submission page. You saw earlier in this webinar when I tried to proceed on the submission page and it wouldn't let me because there were sections in red that I didn't fill out. That all of those, there's stuff like that on every single page. Things like property information, obviously the funding goal from Squareos, important bits from the budget. At least one photo. Like I said before, you can give us six, but we really need one for obvious reasons. It's most of the top of the page and nearly all of the investment listing pages, and the thumbnail is used for clicks and everything else. So we need at least one picture from you. That's super required, and you got to check all those check boxes. But as far as our main approval criteria, you won't be able to submit a project to us unless you meet it. So just fill out everything as much as you can, and it won't be an issue. All right, let's see if there's another question.
I think he also mentioned about. He also asked me what the criteria is rather than the techniques.
Oh,
I think curious about a project is that project does make sense and does make money.
That's a very good answer. Right. Right. Yep. 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 Indeed. All right. Is there another question? No. All right. Cool. We've come to the end of our questions here.
Okay.
That's all right. Cool. Let me just check to make sure there aren't any other ones. If you have any other questions, now is your time to enter them now. Give you another 2 minutes, and then we'll wrap this up. I think this was a very good webinar. You guys answered, or you guys asked a lot of really good questions that kept us on our toes. This is by far the most amount of questions that I've ever certainly been asked in a webinar ever. So, all right, great. Let's just see. Any other ones? Nope. End of questions. All right. Cool. Great. All right. So I'm gonna wrap things up here. If you're not already subscribed to our email lists, if you don't already have an account, we definitely make those things. Once, give us like a day or so, we'll get this webinar edited, and we'll probably put it under our Learn More in our quick video section, or maybe we'll do a whole separate section for webinars itself. But this whole webinar and all the answered questions will appear on this site for you to watch later. And some of the better questions that you guys asked will definitely put into either the investors FAQ here or the fundraisers FAQ here once we download the transcripts and look at everything again. So great. Thank you very much for coming to this webinar. It was very productive. And thank you very much, and have a good rest of